Welcome to Section 6 of PNJ Group's ASC 805 Business Combinations Training. Everything we've covered so far comes together in this section. We're going to look at the acquisition journal entry, the most complex entry in financial reporting, walk through a complete purchase price allocation for a fictional company called TechCo, and then cover how the acquired assets and liabilities are accounted for in the months and years after the deal closes. By the end of this section, you'll be able to prepare the acquisition journal entry, including stepped-up assets, recognized intangibles, assumed liabilities, deferred taxes, contingent consideration, and goodwill. You'll trace each line back to the relevant step of the acquisition method. You'll analyze the complete TechCo purchase price allocation, understanding how each number was derived. And you'll apply the correct post-acquisition accounting for each type of acquired asset, from depreciation of stepped-up PP&E to annual impairment testing of goodwill. The acquisition journal entry is uniquely complex because it captures an entire business transaction in one moment. On the credit side, you record everything given up: cash, shares issued, the contingent consideration liability, the NCI, and any previously held equity interest. On the debit side, you record every asset acquired at fair value, including intangibles that never existed on the acquiree's books. Also on the credit side, every liability assumed at fair value. And then goodwill sits as the final balancing debit, the number that makes it all work. When you step back and look at the entry, you're seeing the entire purchase price allocation distilled into a single transaction. Let's look at the structure of the entry. On the debit side, cash and receivables at fair value, inventory at the stepped-up amount, PP&E at appraised fair value, and then the intangibles that may never have existed on the acquiree's balance sheet: customer relationships, developed technology, trade name, and IPR&D, each at their respective fair values, and goodwill as the residual debit. On the credit side, accounts payable at fair value, deferred revenue written down to the cost to fulfill fair value, long-term debt at fair value, the deferred tax liability on step-ups, the contingent consideration liability, the cash paid, the shares issued at closing day price, and the non-controlling interest at fair value. Every number in that entry comes from the work in the earlier steps. This is why getting those steps right matters. Let's walk through TechCo, a complete purchase price allocation. Total consideration transferred is $69.5 million. The non-controlling interest is 10%, measured at fair value of $8 million. The goodwill formula numerator is $77.5 million. On the asset side, the PPA identifies $58 million of total assets at fair value. $5 million in cash and receivables, $8 million in inventory after step-up, $20 million in PP&E after appraisal, $12 million in customer relationships, $6 million in developed technology, $4 million in trade name, indefinite life, and $3 million in IPR&D liabilities are $18 million plus a $3 million deferred tax liability on the step-ups. Net identifiable assets, $37 million. Goodwill, $77.5 million minus $37 million equals $40.5 million. That $40.5 million represents synergies, workforce, and market position the acquirer paid for but can't separate into identifiable assets. Once the deal is closed and the opening balance sheet is set, how do these assets get accounted for going forward? PP&E that was stepped up to fair value is depreciated over its remaining useful life from the acquisition date, not from the original purchase date. The depreciation base is the full fair value, not the acquiree's original cost. If the acquiree had a machine worth $20 million at fair value with 8 years of life remaining, that's $2.5 million of depreciation per year in the combined entity, potentially much higher than what the acquiree was reporting. The same logic applies to finite life intangibles like customer relationships and developed technology. amortized over their estimated useful lives, with the full fair value as the starting point. Goodwill is treated differently from other assets post-acquisition. Public companies do not amortize goodwill. They test it for impairment annually under a ASC 350. The impairment test compares the carrying amount of the reporting unit to its fair value. If the carrying amount exceeds fair value, goodwill is written down. Private companies have an election to amortize goodwill over up to 10 years instead, which reduces the annual impairment testing burden. IPR&D follows the same indefinite life impairment framework until a project is completed or abandoned. Trade names and other indefinite life intangibles are also tested for impairment annually rather than amortized. The combination of large goodwill balances and annual impairment testing means that the financial health of the acquired business has ongoing income statement consequences for years after closing. Two items need careful post-acquisition tracking. Deferred revenue, written down to fair value at closing, is now recognized as revenue over a smaller base than the original acquiree would have used. As the combined entity fulfills the performance obligations, the revenue it recognizes from those deferred balances is less than what would have been recognized standalone. This effect fades over time as the pre-acquisition deferred revenue burns off and new contracts are entered into at full contract value. Contingent consideration classified as a liability must be remeasured to fair value at every reporting date, quarterly, typically. Each remeasurement either creates a gain or a loss in the income statement. Teams that don't track this carefully will find themselves with unexplained P&L surprises. When you step back, the post-acquisition period carries multiple earnings headwinds from the purchase price allocation. Higher depreciation from stepped-up PP&E, higher amortization from intangibles that didn't exist before, revenue suppression in year one from the deferred revenue haircut, quarterly P&L volatility from earn-out remeasurement, and annual impairment risk on goodwill and indefinite life assets. These effects are predictable. They come directly from the purchase price allocation. Understanding them before the deal closes is part of responsible deal accounting. Analysts who model acquisitions need to account for all of these items when projecting post-acquisition earnings. The acquisition journal entry is the culmination of the entire acquisition method. Every step of the process feeds into a single transaction recorded on one date. Goodwill is the balancing debit that makes the entry work. Going forward, stepped-up assets create higher depreciation and amortization. Goodwill sits on the balance sheet indefinitely until an impairment test says otherwise. And multiple post-acquisition mechanics, deferred revenue burn-off, earn-out remeasurement, intangible amortization, create earnings effects that last for years. In our final section, we cover what the combined entity must disclose, how U.S. GAAP compares to IFRS, and what auditors and controls teams look for. Thank you for completing this section on journal entries, the worked example, and post-acquisition accounting. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more training from PNJ Group.